What is up, guys? It's Ian from Around the Ball HQ, and we've officially had the end of the Jaguars and Chiefs preseason game number one. A lot of things to look at here on how good this team looked. Again, it's just preseason, so there's a grain of salt to be taken with some of it. However, with preseason, you can kind of tell what teams are headed in the right direction and which teams are not. With that being said, I think that the Jags looked very good on a lot of different pieces. I've got a bunch of notes. So you're seeing this the day after they just literally the kickoff or the final kneel just happened. Um, First thing I'll say is that the offense looked fluid. Obviously, the very first drive, a big return by Parker Washington that kind of set them up, which, if you remember, Agnew was the source of that in years prior. But the offense looked good for really every quarterback that stepped onto the field. The play calling was pretty good. The offensive line played solid enough. Um, the offense in general, though, I mean, they were given every wide receiver the chance to make a play, and almost all of them made a play, which is really awesome to see. Brian Thomas Jr. had a hell of a catch, like 40 something yards, way underthrown by CJ Beathard, but he comes down and snags it. They could have called defensive pass interference, but it didn't matter. First thing I want to notice, other than the offense, I think the offense looked solid. I think there was a couple times the run game didn't look good enough, and I think they need to really focus on that this next couple preseason games. But the receivers, I don't think there's a doubt. I think actually the con, which I don't think is really bad thing. It's going to be really hard to pick the 6 or 7 that stay. Again, a lot of guys made a lot of plays. We'll talk about them later, but I want to talk about the return game specifically. Parker Washington and Tank Bigsby looked awesome. And what's crazy is we didn't really see Duvernay get a chance, and he was, in my opinion, kind of brought on to be a returner. And then if you remember, the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted a running back in the 5th round, I believe, and they brought in Keelan Robinson. He was ruled out for the opener before the game even started. He didn't play a snap, but he was a returner in college. So they didn't even have their best returners on the field, and they looked awesome. I think special teams is going to be really solid this year, which is good because this new kickoff rule is going to be important for offenses. I mean, you can really get a good starting field position, and it should lead to more scoring. So big returns out of Parker Washington and Tank, and like I said, Duvernay and Robinson were not even in the guys that I think are going to be doing a bulk of the returns. But who knows? Maybe Parker Washington, he showed he's got a lot of value there. So big game out of Parker Washington, not necessarily on the receiving side of things, but on the return game, 100%. Jaguars 7th round pick Miles Cole, man, he looked awesome. He was flying around in the third and fourth quarter, getting to the quarterback, making stops, getting around the tackles very easily. I mean, he had that tackle in a blender. Whoever the third or fourth string Chiefs tackle is, I believe on the left side, was not very good. Um, I think one of the biggest battles is going to be the wide receiver room. A lot of guys made a lot of big plays, and I think a lot of guys made a good name for themselves. I mean, like I said, Parker Washington on the returns. I think he's officially a lock to make the roster. So your locks are going to be Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., who had a hell of a catch, Gabe Davis, who made a couple good plays. Devin Duvernay and Parker Washington are your 5. And then you've got to see who your 6th and maybe possibly 7th is. If they carry 2 QBs, I could definitely see them going 7 wide receivers. A lot of guys, I'm telling you, Trammell made a lot of big catches. DeGuara made a couple big catches. He's a tight end, but still a lot of guys fighting for a roster spot. Offensive line looks solid today. Wasn't anything, like I said, I didn't think they were dominant, but I thought they were fine. They looked solid. Really, when Mac Jones came in, they started to fall apart a little, but they worked it out and they got it fixed, and they looked better throughout the game. Mac Jones looked good. I think he solidifies the QB2 spot. I think CJ Beathard made a few bad throws, got the ball batted down at the line of scrimmage a few times, but Mac Jones looked the part. He really did. He looks like somebody, if anything happened to Trevor, he could 100% come in and play a game or two to keep us in the hunt or win a couple games. Um, Offensively, the tight ends honestly made a couple, like I said, DeGuara, Luke Farrell made a couple great catches. Really excited to see this group on offense. I wasn't actually that excited about the offense as much as I was the defense, but the offense looked good. The defense under Ryan Nielsen, I think, is going to be really good this year. But the defense did what it needed to do in all four quarters. Chiefs came out slinging. They held them to 3, and then they didn't score again for a while. They ended up scoring 13, but it took a while to before they scored again. Third and fourth quarter, they had the Chiefs on the ground. The quarterbacks were running for their lives. I don't know if that's a testament to the depth. I think it is. Honestly, the Jags have spent a lot on the depth of this defensive line, and the secondary honestly was holding up decently. Even the second, third, fourth stringers. Quarterbacks were on the ground though. Ian Book had a tough time. Number 12, I can't remember the quarterback's name. I can't pronounce the quarterback's name. He was running around for his life too, and they got him down a couple times. And then Cam Little, he's got a leg. He hit 2 field goals and missed one, but the miss was from 63 yards out and just left of the upright. I mean, honestly, if the weather was a little bit better, it had rained earlier, and I think there was a little bit of wind. It looks like the wind kind of took it a little bit. But for the most part, I saw everything that I needed and wanted to see in the game one. The offense clicked for what they had a chance to. The backups showed that it's going to be hard to make cuts. And the players that I wanted to see make some big plays made big plays. Travis Etienne got a touchdown. Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown pass to Travis Etienne. Brian Thomas Jr., hell of a catch. Gabe Davis made a couple catches. Tank Bigsby, man, he was looking like he was running hard, running good. And like I said, the tight end run, Evan Ingram, I don't even think had a catch, but the rest of them, like I said, they were playing really solid football on the offensive side of the ball. One play Trevor made where he took a sack on fourth down, I didn't really love. Ingram was open, but when I look at the playback, you'll see it all over everybody's going to be talking about it because he got sacked on fourth down. But it looked like he was going to try to tuck it and run it. And if he would have got past the defensive line, he would have had a 40-yard run. So I personally didn't hate that, but he did miss Ingram open on the play. That's fairly notable. Some of the big depth pieces that I saw, Chad Muma had a solid outing. Ventrell Miller had a very solid game. He went down, scared me a little bit, but he came out and played the rest of the game. Miles Cole, 7th round pick. He looks like a more raw version of Trayvon Walker, honestly. Tank Bigsby had a hell of a game. Parker Washington, man, he made a name for himself as a returner. I mentioned Tramo made a couple big catches. I mentioned some guys that made some solid catches. But Breland Sparks also, he's the UFL player, I believe. He was like the player of the year, defensive player of the year, or something like that. He came out and he was good in the third and fourth quarter. He was everywhere. And yeah, that's for the team. That's what I've got for the team. I really liked Doug Peterson allowing Press Taylor and Ryan Nielsen to just call the game. Press Taylor did a solid job. I don't think there's many complaints people can have about the play calling in the preseason game. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's because he was on the field instead of the box, but I've been one to say I do not think that matters. I think Press Taylor and Doug Peterson have been together for so long that Press Taylor is calling the game pretty much spot on to how Doug Peterson would be calling it. However, he had to deal with a lot of the same things that Trevor Lawrence had to deal with last year. Bad O-line, no run game, wide receivers hurt. Yeah, and I've said it, I don't think it's necessarily an excuse. It is, but if you give Trevor Lawrence those reasons why he didn't excel last year, you've got to give him to Press Taylor too. And his quarterback was hurt. So I think we got to give Press Taylor the chance. And if it's terrible this year, I don't think it's a fire Doug. I think it's a, okay, we need to move in a direction away from Press Taylor. The problem is Press Taylor will and is willing to call Doug Peterson's offense. You bring in another offensive coordinator, that's kind of Doug Peterson's strength as a head coach. So I don't know how that would work anyway. But just preseason game one, and I'm not expecting it to go bad. So I'm all for Press Taylor calling the plays this year, if that's what he decides to do. Nielsen was great. The defense was everywhere. There were some bad tackling aspects in the third quarter, or second quarter specifically. However, they were everywhere they needed to be. They, in man coverage, they were, if they caught the ball, they were there tackling right away. The defensive line was able to penetrate, get pressure. Like I said, everything I wanted to see, I saw, and I'm excited about this season. Thank you guys so much for watching. You're seeing this the day after. Got to be up for work, so gonna post this for Sunday, and there's still a few more games to watch. So let me know down below what you guys thought was your favorite play, maybe your favorite moment, what you liked about the preseason. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. See ya.